Hey guys, welcome back to VinceVellCustoms. So today we're going to start a work in progress series. Now it's not going to be a huge series. This is going to gear this toward more new people to the hobby, or maybe if you guys just are interested in seeing how things progress. I'm going to kind of do like some fast progression, and then also kind of like some how I would do washes and how I do dry brushing mixed with airbrushing and the blow dryer and all that stuff. So this is the Savage Land Road base, and you can see the one on the left is kind of just started, the one on the right is finished. So I kind of just want to explain to you how things go, and you know, something like this base is very detailed, but it's not detailed. It's kind of like, you really don't know certain areas. Are those areas supposed to be a rock? Are they supposed to be dirt? Are they supposed to be this? So you really don't know what these bases are supposed to be. So you get the idea of the way they're supposed to be, but you could kind of do your own thing to it, which is kind of cool. So let's just start off with, I primed up the bases with Duplicolor primer when I first got them, so that was probably like a month or so ago. So it's been primed up and it's been cured and everything's been good with that. If you do get the base and you're ready to start working on it, you don't want to use Duplicolor primer day one and the next day Krylon Color Master Hunter Green the next, because if they're not cured, different paint brands will react to each other. So you gotta let them really cure for a long time. So I knew that my Duplicolor primer has been cured for like a month or so, and I knew I could do the Krylon with no issues. So a couple days ago I did the Krylon. I got a nice coat on it. You can see that this is what the Krylon looks like when it's on the piece. It's shiny, but that'll get dulled down and everything down the line. Now, once that was all set up and cured, because it was very tacky, it took like a day or so to cure. The cans always say like, oh, it takes like 40 minutes to cure. That's bull. These things sometimes take longer. So anyway, after that was done, I did the Liquitex Burnt Umber all over the base. I have a bottle of it mixed in here with some Airbrush Medium. So you can see on the base we have the Krylons already over here. Then we have the Burnt Umber. So, like as I was saying, at this point, I'm kind of sketching out my base. It's kind of, you think about like, okay, you just want to start throwing some color down. You don't need to worry about any overspray. At least I don't. I kind of let just things go to where they're going to go. So I figure this is a tree trunk that's fallen over with some mud and stuff around it and stuff growing over it. Then this is kind of like a tree branch over here. And I think this is like a piece of rock. This is a rock. And then maybe this is kind of like rocky around here with mud. So you got to kind of toy with this type of base. You can't really just say, okay, it's not just like a base where here's some rocks, here's a fallen tree, and here's a flower. This is kind of like a mix match of stuff, and I kind of see where the artist was going with it. So you got to use your own imagination when you do something like this. You got to just kind of throw color down and have fun with it and just run with it. So you can see over here with this base, I figured, okay, so these are going to be all kind of like growing tree things growing around in here with some mud. And then some stuff I did some dry brushing. This is kind of like a rock over here with like purplish mushroom things growing out. The client wanted a purple flower, so I did a nice cool little purple flower on there and kind of ran with it. And then over here, some other things like that, as you can see. So it's kind of like you can have fun with it. Okay, so maybe you want these to be yellowish. Maybe you want a yellow flower, or maybe you want an orange flower. All these little orange things are kind of like, I figured, little bug pods or something. So what I did those in kind of like an orangey red, deep red. You can make those like a bright blue if you want. You can do whatever you want. That's the cool thing about the base. So it's like Savage Land Rogue. You're out there in Savage Land. Who cares what kind of colors they have? You can make anything you want. Like maybe if you didn't want to do greens, you could do all kinds of blues or something, So you can have fun with it. So it's just kind of a hard sculpt though, because some things, you get a little bit of a texture that looks like moss here, but then there's none over here. So you got to kind of say, okay, if this is kind of rocky, we got to do some dry brushing of greens here. So it's kind of like back and forth and just keep doing stuff. Now, I know a lot of guys that are out there that are been painting for years. They have specific forms. They know that they're going to use this type of burnt umber. They're going to use that raw sienna. They're going to use this bright green. They're going to use this deep green. Me, the way I do the stuff is I kind of just start throwing color down. If I think it's too bright, I tone it down. If I think it's too dark, I brighten it up. And I kind of just keep building and building, washing until I get it to where I want it. So I won't be able to give you guys specific colors on this stuff. I'm just going to, at one point you'll probably see my desk filled with a bunch of different paint bottles, and they'll be slapped in my container, because I have this I've had this cop for my paints, you know, like some paints like this. I've got other paints like this, as you can see. And I've had this since art school back in 1995 to 98. I still use the same top. If I was to pull the paint off of here, it's probably like a 1/4 inch thick, but I always use this to do dry brushing and washing and stuff like that. So stuff like this is kind of what I want to show in the video. It's just kind of, you can use all types of paints, you can use all kinds of stuff, and then what I'll do is I'll give a nice good gloss coat on it, really like secure all the paint, and then I'll dull all that down with some of the Texas dull lacquer from the airbrush. This stuff will dull down a lot of stuff really cool. So we're going to focus on all that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set up. I'm probably going to get my airbrush, or I might just do my paintbrush. I'm not sure yet. I forgot how I did this one already because it was a couple days ago. I'm going to start, you know, it's kind of like you paint these areas, but it's also drawing to give me an idea of where I want color. And then I'll start slapping in colors, I'll start doing all this other stuff, and I'll explain as much as I can with some fast videos here and there. So let's get set up and we'll start this base up. Alright, to start off this base, we're going to draw out some areas that kind of give me some guides of what's going on. So all these little like tree branch stuff that's growing around here, I kind of want to at least see where these things are. So I just got some paint here. I don't know, I forget what color this is, but just gonna do this stuff. Just gonna see me kind of throw some color around here, you know, thin it down a little bit, and just gonna kind of get this color thrown around here. So you're gonna see me do this for a little bit, do a little bit of a fast video. Like I said, it doesn't really have to be pretty. Just let it be a little bit washy. And I'm just gonna go down around here. I'll go down around here, and it's just gonna be drawing it up. Alright, so I kind of painted up where I want all these little weird tree branches stuff. I want to kind of lighten up some of these areas around here. So I have some Garage Kits sandstone. What is it? GK0210. It's really nice. So what I do is kind of use some water and just kind of want to lighten up some areas around here where I think might be rocky. Now I don't mind that it's kind of like, it's lightening it up a little bit, but it's not really like going too crazy, because you could kind of go in little crevices areas. And I'm just using this paintbrush for now. I mean, it doesn't really matter all that much because I'm going to do some more washing with this. So I figure like these pieces right here kind of might be a little bit rocky. So you could kind of just brighten it up. And the cool thing about doing it with the wash like that is you kind of get a little bit closer here. As it starts to dry, it'll kind of give it a little bit of a texture too, because you're letting the paint go in some areas. And then what I kind of might do is might wash this up. So if I put too much in here, as you see, you can kind of get some water, tone it down real quick. Because you got to remember, as stuff dries, it's always brighter when it's wet, darker when it dries. So I might go around to some areas that I might think are rocky and I'm going to kind of do this, build it up a little. I might kind of be able to hit in some areas here a little bit and kind of just go around, and I'm going to do some of that now. Alright, so I'm going to do some little bit of an airbrush work, some transparency wood. Just kind of throw some color into the rock area. And if you throw a little too much transparency, it starts to bleed or anything. Kind of hit a little bit. Transparency wood's kind of like a yellowish green. Throwing, get some color there, and then let's see, grab some gold toner, which is kind of like a little bit of an orangey color, and we'll just throw some like I said, I'm not really even thinking much, kind of just letting the color go wherever. It's kind of a little bit wet too at the moment, so we can throw some more over here. That's why I like the transparent stuff. You can just kind of let it bleed and it'll just go into crevices and stuff, and because that's all darker, it just starts working together. And you don't have to worry about overspraying too with it with the tool. And by doing that, you start to see like this kind of starts to form almost kind of like a stained rock with certain colors. You can throw some more. If you really wanted to, you can actually, with the transparency, you could throw like a drop or two of the sandstone back in there. Kind of bring it back a little, at least the highlighted area. Here, go to the rock. So, and then we're starting to get like that rocky stuff, and then once we start throwing more like greens up in there, which will be pretty soon, but let's take out some of this color. And what I wanted to do was, where was it? I want to get the, have a dark brown. And then what we can do is we can kind of darken up a little areas that might have some overspray. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do next now is kind of blow dry it down a little bit, and we're going to do some dry brushing of green. Simple dry brushing is get yourself a fan brush, throw some green and dry brush. Don't really need to explain anything more than that. Alright, so we're starting to build up color, stuff starting to come together now a little bit more. We still want to keep doing more detailing, so I got some sepia here, which is transparency. And what I like to do now is kind of just throw it into the wood. Now this is kind of like washing. You just kind of let the darker areas just fall into the crevices of the item. And like I say, it's just gotta keep building. Just let the paint do its stuff. It's kind of like staining it, I guess, in a way. And kind of just do the same thing here. I mean, you could airbrush it too, but the reason why you do the washing is because you let the paint do its thing. Whereas when you airbrush, you're just coating everything. Whereas this is kind of, as you can start to see, it's just going into the crevices, and we're starting to darken it up. And I also have some more transparent dark brown, but we also have transparent wood. That transparent wood, like I said, is kind of more the darker. So like this, I'll probably do a little bit around the edges. And I'm not afraid to kind of just let the colors mix a little bit. So as you can kind of see, as it starts to go into crevices over in there, it starts to darken it up. Now if you do too much, you need to pull it out, you just dry up your airbrush, or you just kind of pull the color around. That's a good thing about washing, but the other thing too is you got to be careful though, is if you start to get it where you like it, what you want to do is kind of let it dry or hit it with a blow dryer, because if you start to keep washing and keep washing and keep washing and get everything soaked, you're going to start pulling up the paint, because it is acrylic after all, and it's fresh acrylic where it hasn't been cured enough. So you just want to keep that in mind. But so now you're going to see me just kind of go around in areas now. I'm just going to keep going around washing stuff, throwing color in dark areas, letting stuff kind of go. Have a lot of washes. My paints are going to start getting fun. I'm just going to go back and forth grabbing colors. So I might have transparency blues, I might have transparency reds, I might have some other colors here and there. As you kind of see, I'll start coloring up this little rock around here with some colors, and just kind of keep rolling with it. And then we'll go back to dry brush, and then we just keep building and building and building. So I'm just going to keep throwing all washes around the whole thing. Alright, so at this point, I've done a lot of washing, I've got a lot of colors, I've been throwing stuff all over the place. It's very wet now, it's very tacky, and at this point I kind of, if I keep on throwing on more color and more washes, it's not going to do much more. And I want to do some dry brushing here and there as well, so I need to kind of get all this tackiness gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the garage, and I'm going to use my Tester's dull coat out of the can, which is this stuff right here. Probably kind of give it a nice heavy coat where it's almost kind of like, you know, if you spray it far away, like 12 inches, you're just kind of missing and not doing much. But the way I like to do is kind of spray a little heavy, let it get it on there, and this helps kind of like cure stuff really fast and dry stuff pretty fast, plus dulls it down a little. and I kind of want to do that. So I'm going to go in the garage, I'm going to do that, let it sit for like a good 5 minutes, like really dry up, so then I can come back and I can start doing more colors and washes and all that stuff. Alright, so I pulled it out of the garage and I went over to the airbrush booth and I kind of sprayed it down with some transparency wood, just to kind of darken up some areas. So now what I'm doing is I'm kind of just bringing up a little bit more of this whiteness area of the wood. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit. And it's pretty much like this thing. It's just a matter of keep building and building and building. Keep adding color, transparencies, till you get it to where you want it. Dull stuff down. If you want it more of a brighter color, you can keep a lot of bright colors on there. And just keep having fun with it, actually. So... So it's starting to come together, getting little by little. I did some other colors in the back here. I sprayed some colors. I sprayed some stuff back here as well. Some different types of greens, some mud under the back. A lot of the color underneath here is I really don't know what's going on back here. It just pretty much looks like mud. I mean, it really doesn't look like much of anything else back there except just kind of a mud type of thing. So not focusing too much on it. I'll add some things here and there. We still haven't done a lot of detailing work yet. We're still just pretty much washing, adding colors, and just kind of getting everything going. So I'm just going to keep plugging away. Alright, so this is where I'm at with the base. Went back in the garage, I dull coated it again, I dried it down, and I'm looking pretty good. I'm liking where it's at. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next. Now, just a reminder, I've never used any straight black paint. The darkest color I used was this transparency dark brown. That's the darkest color I use to get any kind of darkness, so there's no black thrown in here. There's some dark browns, the burnt umber that I use, but there's no black. So that's one thing I kind of want to point out. If you start throwing black in there, you're going to get muddy and things are going to get too dark and you don't want to go that far. This one I'm kind of doing a little bit brighter compared to the other one I did. So this one's kind of having more of its roots and wood kind of popping a little bit more compared to the other one where I wanted to go more a little bit darker because I wanted her yellow to kind of pop out. So this one I'm kind of changing up a little bit more with this. So the next step is I think I'm going to start painting up all the little mushroom pieces that are sticking out on the sides. I think I'm going to give them probably like I did with the other one, like a purplish gray, just to give them a little bit of a pop. Get those out so then I can start bringing more colors into the base. I could start seeing if I need to tone some stuff down or bring some stuff up. But so like I said, it's just a matter of keep throwing in colors, washes, and just kind of hitting certain crevices and bringing stuff out and pulling stuff back and forth. So once I pull out the mushrooms, I think I'm going to start doing all those little smooth areas that look like it might be like those bug pods or something. I'm probably going to do those in like a red, I think, on this one. A little bit more of a brighter red, so I'm going to make those pop a little bit more and just keep plugging away. Okay, so what I did is I painted up all the mushroom stuff. It's kind of messy at the moment. I'm gonna kind of maybe kind of hit it with the Tesser's dull coat. Hopefully it'll blend it some together. So what I did was I added a lot more of these little red pieces underneath here, because I figured if this is mud, maybe this is where, you know, little insect pods would be. I think it adds something really cool to the back of the base. You see I added a bunch more. I did a brighter red on this one, and as I was doing the brighter red on this one, I liked it a lot, so I went back to the other base and I added brighter red ones on those as well. So I added little hidden pieces you can see around, you know, so it's popping out a little bit more. So this is a brighter base, and it's working out pretty good. So there's a couple things I want to touch up, things that are kind of bothering me that I see. So I kind of want to darken this area around here just to give a little bit of a difference from between the green going to the wood. Some other areas I might darken up. I'm going to be using my transparent dark brown to do that, but I want to give this a coat of dull coat again just to kind of blend some stuff together. But I like the way it's coming out pretty good. It's looking good. I think for the flower on this one, I'm thinking I might do something a little bit different. Like I might do, I'm thinking, I don't want to do a white flower going into a red, you know, kind of like white blend into a red. I think that's going to be too much of pulling your eye back to the flower instead of rogue. So I think what I might do is I might look online about some other colors. I'm thinking maybe a purple to an orange, or maybe a blue to maybe a darker purple. I don't know, something that's kind of dark but that's kind of a different color, like blended in the back. But I don't want to focus on that flower. I don't want the eye pulling to that by making it pure white or yellow or anything. So I gotta kind of toy with some ideas on the flower, but I'm gonna keep detailing this up some more, and we'll come back. Right now, what the detailing wise, I'm going to be going in with my fine brush, and I'm going to be trying to kind of make some things a little bit darker. I might even go with my darker brown 2 color and go in there. Like I said, I don't want to put any black in here. If I really want to darken something up, I might take some blue, some like blue paint, and some of this brown, and then go in there or something. So I'm going to do that. We'll come back. Okay, so I did a little bit more detailing, and then off camera I worked on the flower. I just kind of wanted to do a flower like this just to see if the client likes it. Of course it's got to be toned down and stuff. I used a couple pearls in there and stuff, so it kind of just pops a little bit more. But once it's flattened down, it looked more silky like a flower than actually glossy, because it's kind of glossy and still a little tacky at the moment. But you can pretty much see how the base worked out today. Just kept doing a lot of washes, a lot of different colors, just keep blending. I'm going to let this sit for the night because it's pretty much done for the day. This way I can actually walk away from it now, because I've been looking at it all day long. You kind of don't really see what's going on when you look at it. At least I can come back tomorrow morning fresh. I can see what's going on. Plus I get some pictures out to the client, see if they like what's going on, if they want to change anything. You know, maybe they don't like the flower, maybe they want a blue flower, maybe they want a red one, orange. But I'm trying to do 2 things. One, it's rogue. 2, this is complementary colors, you know, on the color wheel. So we got rogue is a lot of yellows and greens. This is green, so we kind of do this. Plus it almost like mimics like Magneto colors too. So I kind of wanted to do a little something with the flower. But we're pretty much there, you know. I mean, just a nice long day of just keep doing colors, washes, and keep blending and building up, and just keep messing around. So like I said, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll see how things are looking. You know, maybe I'll get some more feedback. Maybe they like it the way it is. And then we just keep plugging away. Okay, guys, so the base is pretty much done. Off camera, I did a little bit more detailing work in some crevice areas. I sent the pictures to the client. He's like, it's a go. He likes it. So I'm going to seal it up now. Now, when I seal up a base like this, there's 2 things I like to do. I like to think about an area that might be a little bit shiny because you're kind of in Savage Land. So you figure maybe some of the mud is a little bit wet, maybe some of the green areas is a little bit wet, but the tree trunk is dry, the roots are kind of dry. So the way of doing this type of thing is I'm going to use Duplicolor gloss coat, and I'm going to gloss the whole entire base. I'm going to make it really shiny. I'm going to gloss it up, and this is going to protect it too, because it's, you know, it's such a heavy base and it's a weird base that if you're handling it, you could be scraping off paint. So it's going to be a nice good coat of protecting, and it's going to be a nice glossy coat. And once that's pretty much set up, which takes about like a half hour or so, at least outside on a nice day like this, I'm going to dull down some areas. So I'm thinking, you know, okay, so this rock will be a little bit dulled. This tree trunk is going to be dulled, but this is going to be kind of glossy. Maybe this is going to be kind of glossy around here. Then I'm going to dull this around here. I'll dull some roots, but I'll leave the areas a little bit there glossy. So the base gives you, you know, by doing this, it gives you that like look like, okay, you got some freshly wet leaves, but you got some dry things too. So it kind of works like that. Now this glosses up really well. This will dull down almost anything. This Tester's dull coat. It just through the airbrush, this stuff dulls stuff like crazy. So you can take this and gloss up the hell out of this, where it's almost looking like a car and it's shining. And then once that's cured and dry, you dull it down, and all of a sudden it looks like this again. It'll look really dull again. So that's the kind of cool thing. But you got to do this outside in a nice, well-ventilated area. Let it cure. And then this, I always put a mask on, and I even use my airbrush booth as well, because any type of lacquers, I just don't like messing with lacquers too much. But I always make sure I got my mask on and everything's open with the windows and stuff. But so I'm going to go into the garage now. I'm going to gloss it all up. We'll come back and I'll kind of show you how, you know, the dulling works on this type of stuff. So you know, you can actually use a paintbrush with this too if you really want to. So if you just wanted to like gloss something up, but there's certain areas you wanted to dull down, if you get an airbrush and you work it and you learn how to work the lacquer through the paintbrush, you can dull down those areas as well. So it's kind of it's a two-step process. One, I'm protecting all the paint, and two, I'm kind of creating more of that glossy, dull area that you would see in woods. So I'm going to go in the garage now and get this going. Alright guys, so as you saw, I just pretty much flat coated some areas. You know, like this trunk is flat, these rocks around here are flat now, this is flattened down, that's a little bit flat. I flattened around in here, a little bit areas around there, not much, a little bit in here, a little bit, and just run with it. But I like the idea that some of this is kind of shiny like it's wet, and other areas a little dry. So there you go, that's pretty much, you know, just painting up the Savage Land road base with washes and colors and just letting stuff go, just not overthinking it and just having fun with it. You know, you just keep in mind that, you know, you want the tree trunks and the branches to be like browns, you want the rocks to be kind of like rocky looking, and then you want the moss to kind of be greens, and then you just kind of let the colors flow with the washes, and you just have fun with it. I like the idea too, is like when I do stuff like this, is letting some of these greens kind of bleed into the rock, because it kind of just flows in a little bit more. I know some people, you know, they might want to say, well, I want every single little piece to look like moss is growing on top of it, but I kind of like the colors blending in a little bit more. You know, and little crevices in here where you see paint kind of seeps in the cracks, it brings out the cracks more. And it just runs with it. And I like the idea now that the back of this is all kind of wettish, because it kind of looks like muddish kind of back there, because it's kind of, you know, the sun's not hitting that, so it would be kind of damp. And you just run with it and just have fun. You can do any colors you want. And like I say, one of the biggest tips of this whole entire paint up is stay away from blacks. When the minute you start throwing blacks into all your paint ups, everything becomes very muddy, and you don't want that. Stay away from, you know, if you really want to get some deep colors, throw some blues and browns in there. Blues, you know, blue and red together, make some purples and throw some purples. So I think the next base what I'll do is for somebody is I'll add a little bit more blues in there. Just like, you know, maybe like dark brown or burnt umber or something like that is probably like the darkest you should go. Because like I said, the minute you start throwing black in there, it'll really it'll just be too much, you know. You want to keep everything a little bit more natural and, you know, just have some fun with it. So there you go. Hopefully you guys like the video setup. Hopefully it helps a lot of you new guys to the hobby.
with just washing and dry brushing. Just kind of sit there, play some music, and have fun with it, and not even overthink it, and just kind of just let it run and let the colors and paints do its thing. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with some more videos.